Hi guys, here we've got a Dyson V6 cordless vacuum, which I've been handed as it's no longer wanted. They've bought the newer model V8. So I'm gonna have a look at it. Here you can see me just emptying the bin. I've got all the attachments and the charger and everything. So I'm just gonna give it an overhaul. So I'm going to start by detaching the bin. After I've removed the filter, there's a filter there on the top, just pull it out. Obviously not been changed in a while, covered in dust. Just put it to one side. And then all I'm going to do is just pop it into the machine on a quick wash. And then you can see me just removing the bin. There's a little red button, you just press it twice and the bin detaches. Slide it down twice and the bin detaches, sorry. And you can see me just pulling the bin away here, a little bit fiddly. And there he is, free. And that's the eject button on the bottom there, little red tab. Clicks down and opens the lid. Now, there's a little tab inside here because I've got to separate the motor body from the actual cyclone itself. Little white tab, you've got to just press them together. See if I can get a best angle so I can show you. Little white tabs there. If you press them together, press them in, that should release the vacuum, the cyclone, from the actual motor and the battery assembly. And those little white tabs there, and it's just a matter of working it loose once they've freed. And then there you can see I've got the two units separate. Now it's just a case of dismantling this cyclone unit. Harbours a lot of dust, as I'll show you. So it's just a matter of getting a blunt instrument to remove this filter, outer filter, mesh filter. So you can see there, that's free. See all the dust falling out of it. Shake some of that off. And then you got 5 screws to undo. They can be hidden by the dust. Speed that section up for you. And then once you've got the screws off, this cover lifts away with the screws. Just put that to one side. And then you got this section here, should just pull out. This cone section just lifts out. Kind of wraps itself around the cyclones. Nozzles, let's put that to one side. And then inside here you got 2 screws on the outside here. Just try and highlight that for you, best I could. And then you got 3 screws inside here. Once again, they'll be covered in dust. You just got to figure out where they are. I've already undone them, so then it's just a case of pulling this section away. Just put the top cover to one side, and then you're just gonna separate the rest of the units. There's a gasket, red gasket inside here, and as you can see, there's a lot of dust. And just get this central cyclone out, and you can see how much dust these units harbour, especially if they've not been used correctly, like filter change and what's not. So first thing I'm going to do is the parts I've removed, I'm going to put the screws to one side and just dip the parts that I've removed in the bucket of bleach. I'm going to give him a clean later, but I'm just going to give him a soak first. There you can see me just removing the gasket there. Give that soak as well. And you can see me just putting all of the parts into the bucket for a soak, including the bin. I've soaked the filter first, but then, as you saw later on, I've put in the washing machine on a quick wash, low temperature. So I'm just going to tie this area up now. Lively. And now I've let it soak for a bit, so I'm just going to use a paintbrush just to wipe off the dust off the individual parts. I also use a bit of cloth as well to get into the tricky places. And you can see me just removing all the parts to speed this section up. Give them a quick wipe off with the brush. And now that they're all clean, I'm just going to give them a rinse off. So I'm just chucking them back in the bucket with fresh water, just to rinse them off, get all the soap and remaining dust. So here you can see I'm just taking there's a filter in the back of the motor housing, exhaust filter. A little bit tricky, and this section will remove the battery also. So just a matter of getting this back housing cover off. It houses the exhaust filter, catches all the dust. And the filters are in here. There you can see me just removing them. I'll give this a soak and clean also.
No, it's actually quite small, the actual cottage for us, although there was room to extend out into the garden area.
There's the filters there, it's just sponge and mesh. And I'll do the one screw at the back, one at the front there, and the battery should come away like so. Just put it to one side. And I'm just got a little wet wipe inside the motor rotor. It's going to get these little bits of dust inside there. Give that a bit of clean. Be careful not to break any of the motor's turbines. And here you can see I've got all the parts off and dried and ready for assembly. Just show you there, just get a little close up of them and the exhaust filter. So I'm just going to put it back together. Now this is the exhaust filter, the back and the back cover. Just going to pop them back inside. They're nice and dry and clean now. And then it's just a matter of reassembling the cyclone unit. Just pop this red gasket on back on here. Speed this section up a little bit. And it's just reversal before, remembering where the parts go. And just fit this upper cyclone assembly together. Just give you a close up, show you what it looks like now that I've got it nice and clean. And then it's just a matter of putting the 5 screws back in, 2 on the outside, 3 in the middle. And there you can see, nice and clean inside here. Little screenshot. And then you can see we're just putting the 3 screws back in. 3 retaining screws. Now it's just a matter of fitting this cone section here. It actually fits around the nozzles. It'll only fit in one way. Let's get a little close up. So you fit this section in. Just make sure that it's pressed around the seals. And then this cone section fits on. It's key, you can only fit on one way. Let's get close up there. And then it's just 5 screws which hold the whole thing in place from there. You can see me just trying to get the first screw in. I'll just speed this section up. See me just putting the 5 screws back in. Let's get close up there. So far, I've reassembled it. It's just a matter of now putting this mesh filter back over. It's keyed, so it'll only fit one way, and it'll just snap on. And you probably heard that click there, so that's fitted nicely. Just go around, make sure it's seated correctly. Now, the cyclone's assembled. Just got to put the back cover back on for this for the exhaust filter. As you can see, I put the sponges back in. It's just a matter of clipping this section back over. Yeah, that snap there, so just tuck this section in. A little bit fiddly. Might have to pop this section back off again, try and refit it. Just gonna make sure this bottom section is tucked in nicely. And there you go, got it tucked in there. So, I put a screw in there, but I will have to remove it because this holds the battery in place. Now, just got a matter of fitting the cyclone to the motor housing, and this white clip in the middle there holds the whole thing together. A little bit tricky, but as you can see, I've managed to click it back together. And I'm just going to fit the bin back in. This clips in, or slides in, and clicks. I'll just test that the bin lid works. Let's snap it back in. Yeah, there you can see the bin lid operation works. You can see the filter I've put in the machine earlier, and it's nice and dry now. I'll just let it dry naturally. That just fits in the top here. I've had to remove the screw for the back so I can put the battery back in, which I have done there. Put the screws back in. 2 screws, one on the front, one on the back. And that's the Hoover fully assembled here. Close up. There's some gear there, it's working fine. Okay, now that I've got the Hoover nice and clean, it's time to have a look at the actual Motorhead. And here you can see I'm just going to dismantle this unit. I'm just taking the roller out. This is replaceable, and if you're going to replace it, this is what you do. and that's a brush there. So what I've got to do now is dismantle the head. Just going to undo this section here. See all the dust inside. It's quite a long process, so what I'm going to do now is just remove the screws, because I've got to completely dismantle the head and remove the motor after I've vacuumed it and give it all a wash. So you see me just taking the screws out there, and this panel here pops off. See all the dust on the back of it got stuck between the lock mechanism, so you get a build-up of dust inside here. Let's get that out. And then I just got to separate this top cover. There we go. And that's the unit pretty much disassembled here. Let me just zoom in and show you a bit closer. And you can see there, let's get the screwdriver out and show you the build-up of dust inside of this head. Just dust builds up over time. The hoover out and get rid of this dust as much as I can. Try not to back the screws up. And you can see me just vacuum all this, like I said, build of dust inside the head, inside the brush head. And this section here also removable. Got a build up of dust along there as well. And this is the guard, the clear guard, also covered in dust. But I am going to give the whole thing a wash. See on the main body of the head there, there's quite a bit of dust in there also. Get a quick vac out. Get all these bits off the floor. And then what I've got to do is remove the electric motor. Just two wires holding on, I've got to disconnect them. You see there. And that's the motor there. I'll give the motor a bit of a clean. But I've had to separate it because, as you see here, I put all the parts in the bucket of bleach just to soak, because I'm going to give them a wash, which I have done, and now they're nice and dry and clean. Just got to fit this little gasket back on here, little sponge gasket trim. I'll just fast forward this section because it is a long process. You can see me just reassembling it, opposite to previous disassemble, and then just this cover fits on here. You can get it back in, and you can just lock it back in with a coin or a knife, whichever. One knife. And you can see that's locked in there. That's it, so it's just another try on it. Seems to be working fine. You can see there, just powered it up. Let me show you the other side. Yep, seems to be working fine, nice and clean. And that's the complete unit here. You can see I've cleaned everything, including the tubes. And there you can see the charger and the accessories on the floor there. And with that, that pretty much concludes. So with that, thanks for watching once again, and please subscribe.